So what is up, guys? My name is Danny, and well, what do we have here? The iPhone SE second generation review after 1 year. So it's hard to believe it's almost been a year since the iPhone SE second generation was released. This thing was launched in last year of 2020, April 24th to be exact. It started shipping and it was arriving by the 25th, 26th. My grandma got it the 25th. And I'm going to be reviewing it for you guys to see how good this thing does in 2021. This is the 1 year later review. So without further ado, please stick around and let's get into the video. Okay guys, so let's start off with the performance. This thing is rocking the A13 Bionic chip from last year, 2 years ago actually, 2019. But this chip is behind the iPhone 11, so this thing is a beast. It does very well. It works super good. This has it has optimization for battery life, which is always welcome in the tech world. And this thing works really good. And this thing has 3 gigabytes of RAM along with the A13 Bionic chip. And the actual gigabyte of RAM absolutely flies through iOS. You have better optimization, better stuff here, you got better stuff here, you got things here, things there, better stuff for everything. So that is really good. Better iOS flies it. And this is rocking iOS 14.4.2, and this is really good. A13 is absolute beast in performance. Is a grade A. It's gonna have the best performance life of any $400 phone. Because if you remember, this thing is $400, so not like expensive, crazy expensive, but it's a fairly well priced phone. And what about the display? Well, this thing has the Retina HD display. Did you know that Retina is part of your eye? Like right here on top, somewhere like back here in your eye. That is pretty cool. It has 4.7-inch LCD display. But 4.7 inches is really tiny in 2021. This thing is super sizable though. I can easily reach all 4 corners with my hand. Super easy. So super easy there. For me, I can definitely do it. Some people will have kind of hard time to do it, but for me, it's really easy. It's more for like a one typing phone, one-handed typing phone experience, which is pretty good. But for me, I like this a lot, so that is really good for me. And then it is a 1334 x 750 LCD display, so not the best, just above 720p. You want a 20 really 720p? Really? That is not that good. Where you really notice that this thing is 720p is in the camera. So you open up the camera app, you have all your new user interface here. You can actually see that in the photo it looks not that crisp. You got your stuff here. It doesn't really look that crispy here, so it doesn't really look that crisp, not that good. And then but this thing does support 4K on YouTube, 4K HDR on YouTube, so fairly good. So you have that on YouTube. That is pretty cool too. So you have that, which is pretty good on YouTube. And this thing also can record 4K. If you're watching 4K on a 720p display, at least make it 1080p, Apple, please. Hopefully on the 3rd generation you can do that. That would be really good. But for now, it's 720p. That's what we have to deal with. And for the brightness, this thing has 625 nits of max brightness. That's about the same as the iPhone 12, but you have to remember, the iPhone 12 is an OLED. The pixels have deeper blacks, and here these blacks look kind of grayish from an angle, but so it's fairly good blacks. But of course you have that, and then this thing has 625 nits. Because of that, the outdoor brightness, I have a max brightness right now, and it's not that bright. I mean, for indoors it's plenty bright. If you live like in California, Texas, all those states or countries that have lots of sun, especially in the summer, you probably should upgrade because this thing is not that good. If you can live with the brightness issues, then it's going to be a great phone. But for this brightness, stay with Big K in the sunlight. Well, what about the battery life? How good is it? Well, Apple claims 10 hours of battery life on this phone. And despite this thing being at 1,821 milliamp hour battery, the claims actually are fairly reasonable. The battery life lives up to like about 8-9 hours, I'd say. It depends on your use, of course. On my grandma's use, watching YouTube videos, lots of YouTube videos, like 2 hours a day, and she probably ends up about with 50%. I've seen her. She started with a day. She ends, but that was on a heavy use. So you have that too. So the battery life is a decent A, B plus, because this thing is fairly well. It's like all you need on there's a $400 phone. Remember that. The $800 iPhone 12 has a 2,821. I'm pretty sure. Milliamp hour battery, so just think about that. So 1,000 milliamp hour difference. But then again, it has better brightness, it's an OLED display, and it needs more power from the A14 Bionic. So battery life is about the same on both phones, but this thing definitely can last all day on the battery life. You can technically kill it on in a day if you have like gaming super hard, put on a 4-inch display. Would you really game on this thing, this tiny display? I wouldn't, but like, you could actually definitely kill this in a day if you really try. But yeah, like 6 times the screen on 7, you can definitely kill this. But I mean, for my use and my grandma's use, battery life is a decent day. But where battery life really does suffer is in the camera. Not just really suffer, but you know, it takes a big hit. Right now I'm recording from an iPhone 8, and the thing had 100%. Right now I'm guessing 73%. But on the iPhone SE, battery life is really good when recording camera. As you know, the camera takes lots of power from the iPhone SE, so this thing does an awesome job on it. I almost recorded a video that took me about 40 minutes of shooting time, and this thing lost about 26%, so not that bad compared to the iPhone 8, which lost 40 minutes of shooting time about 40-something%. So you have that too, you have that physical differences. So that is really good from the iPhone SE. And considering the thinness, this thing is very thin, super thin. It's like about, I don't know, like 6.something millimeters thin. I'll be on the title text right there. But this thing is really thin, so this thing is awesome. This thing does not support 5G though, only 4G LTE. So yeah, that about the battery life. And so yeah, this is about the battery life. The battery life is a solid B+, so not that bad with this phone. And although there is fast charge available for this phone, 18 watts or higher, so that is fairly good about this phone too. Fast charging is awesome on this phone. Well, what about the speakers? Well, the speakers are stereo sound speakers. They are really good, amazingly loud. They're stereo sound speakers, so you have your earpiece speaker, which is actually fairly big, and your bottom speakers, and now there are 6 little dots and holes on your speakers right here, and these sound really loud. Just take a listen for yourself. So on the bass, unlike the iPhone 8, the bass, when it's at full volume, it sounds a little bit too blown out, which, you know, it's kind of sad. But on the iPhone SE, the bass is very controlled. That's why it has a force-canceling woofer in it, I'm pretty sure, maybe. And so that's why the bass doesn't get too overly exposed. No, this thing, the bass keeps it at very good volume, at a high volume. So you saw there, it was really good. You got clear highs and mids. Awesome on this thing. The speakers are really good. You can definitely tell it's stereo sound. Also, if you're holding it like this, it's very easy to block these speakers, but no need to worry about that because you have this bad boy right here, which works it fairly well. So that is an awesome speaker on the iPhone SE. What about the camera on this phone? Well, this camera has been pretty good. You can see no cracks on this iPhone. Very clean and good. You have a single 12-megapixel sensor with 6-element lens and OIS, optical image stabilization on 4K, 1080p, and 720p. That is awesome. You have an LED flash, which we'll get into in a second. So the photos from this 12-megapixel camera do very well. They have nice sharpness. This is the A13 Bionic, so it has 3rd generation Smart HDR, which is awesome. And you have that. And then for video, you have 4K at 60 FPS. I should have it at 24 or 30 because 24 looks kind of too blurry. 30 looks like 24 since it's not a professional camera. I always shoot my videos in 30 FPS because in 24 it will look super choppy. But like a professional camera, like a Canon or Sony, I'm definitely shooting 24 on that because it's like the sensor is more big and it can register better, you know, like hand. 30 FPS looks just way too good, like 24, but 60 FPS looks way too smooth, so I don't use 60 at all. But for, you know, like fast moving, like you're like you have an iPhone, like, you know, on the mount on your helmet, you're biking and you're going on a rocky road, definitely use 60 FPS because that'll be definitely smooth out all the things. So that's a really good camera. For slow-mo though, you have 1080p at 240 frames per second, and slow-mo looks fairly well on this thing. And then as for the images, I told you this has 1 megapixels, just take your images for yourself. As you saw, they're very good sharp images right there, fairly good images, pretty cool. This thing does have 5x optical zoom, which is not that far, it's like about 5 feet. Not the greatest, this thing does not have a telephoto, so it's not the greatest. But this thing does have portrait mode, which is fairly good. So portrait mode does, like, you know, blurs out the background. And as you can see here, some shots of myself with the selfie camera, you can definitely tell that they are, you know, it's kind of bad. It's kind of like, I'm using this, all of these were shot at f1 aperture actually. You can definitely tell that, you know, it's like there's a little bit of fringing on my hair on top, and there's a little bit of fringing on my ears, but the background does very well. So these are all taken with the selfie camera. And but one thing this cannot take though is of regular light. I'll say it doesn't detect people. You have to use Apple light. And what I'm thinking is that Apple put the 10R sensor on this phone. Because if you actually think about it, the iPhone 10R cannot take things portrait mode of regular objects. So I'm guessing this iPhone 10R sensor, but shrunken down. Because if you've seen a 10R, the camera thing is huge. This thing is a little bit tinier. So I'm thinking it's iPhone 10R sensors. Maybe I'm wrong, who knows? But still, it's a really good camera. Portraits look really well. And here's how it sounds for video. So there's our looks with 4K. A little bit of an echo here in my house. Let me just go over here. Yep, that's an actual waterfall there. Oh wait, that's the 5x optical zoom. Does a pretty job for not having a telephoto there. That's the waterfall. Look at this awesome rock my sister found. This using the microphone of the iPhone SE. Just look at this awesome rock that my sister found here. Really cool. Got lots of crystals in there. That's a trampoline. Really cool. Come out here. Have her stuff here. Yeah, look at those clouds. Looks really cool. Detail looks really nice. Optical image stabilization, the OIS there, fairly well. Look at this detail here. Just look at that detail. All of that. Colors are super natural. That's it. That's the waterfall. Colors are super duper natural here. That's the roof of our house. And this is me vlogging. It is without a game, it's just handheld. It's just me. I'm just getting into the door. And we are back in the house. So tell me how this thing looks down in the comment section below. So this other video does a very good job. 4K looks awesome, especially in daylight. Once you get into like bad lighting, things start to get a little bit grainy, start messing up, lots of noise on things. So yeah, so low light isn't necessarily that good of a power on this thing, but overall, this thing is an awesome thing for the camera and stuff like that. Camera is a solid A, and you know most $400 phones don't really have that good of a camera, but this thing definitely does a great camera for a $400 smartphone. So that's a solid A for the iPhone SE. So should you definitely keep this iPhone SE after 1 year? Yes, you should definitely keep it. This thing's gonna have a long life, probably 3 more years of software, maybe even 4. You should definitely keep this about 3 more years or 2 more years because this thing is awesome. Most $400 smartphones don't even last that long, but this thing surely does. It does awesome on this thing. Really good smartphone. This also thing has 2nd generation Touch ID. Just so I forgot to tell you that. 2nd generation Touch ID. Super duper fast. This thing is great. And just looking at it, it looks fairly well. It looks awesome. You get your Apple logo, so the white colorway. And all models come with the black bezels. You have 64 or 256 gigabytes maximum storage. So everything here does a fairly good job. So the iPhone SE does a very good job as a $400 smartphone. You should definitely keep it. Maybe wait for the iPhone 14 maybe, because this thing will be really happy with it if you buy it even now. So the chip is awesome. Everything is super future proof. Definitely keep it. And yeah, so this is my review. Hopefully you guys can like the video. Please subscribe and like the video. And I'll see you in the next video.